Szymanczyk has it stolen by Thybulle. He breaks free and slams it. 5 straight by Thybulle. Oh, man, you're playing with fire if you pass it on the perimeter with Thybulle lurking. And San Antonio takes a timeout. They have only one timeout remaining.
That's the voice of Tom McGinnis, the play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia 76ers. You'll hear him here tonight on 97.3 ESPN. The tip-off 8 o'clock against the New York Knicks, who are kind of back in the mix for the first time in about 20 years, it seems like. It's Inside the Sixers. Tom McGinnis joins me right now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. As you heard him describe that Matysse Thybulle steal and slam. And Thybulle has been an interesting guy. We'll get into him more. Tom, how you been, pal?
I'm great, Mike. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you. And, you've got a front row seat for all these games, and you've got a chance to see it. And the first time the other night, I guess you got a chance to see fans back in the building. Had to feel nice to call. I called a game last night with nobody in there, and it is just bonkers still. You feel like everybody hears what you're saying. I mean, at least you're up in the second, thing, but it must have felt nice to have the people back in while you're doing the game.
Right. So, as you say, second section, we might want to revisit front row seat. But, no, it's so great to be in there, Mike, for sure, because, as you know, we're calling road games remotely, so we're anywhere but in the front row. That's a whole different conversation. But it really was, like, at the beginning, when I watched a young guy walk in with his dad, I'm like, there's the first fan, because it's been over a year. When you go back to Wednesday, March 11th, when the Sixers played host to Detroit, and you remember the scenario, Christian Wood, as it turned out, was positive with the coronavirus. And that night is the night that the NBA stopped the season after that Oklahoma City cancellation with Utah. And so revisiting Sunday, now, first of all, from the upper tier, some guy was yelling, "Zoom off! Oh, I'm like, okay, I'm already sick of the fans. No, but when the team came out, it was almost like a reciprocal standing ovation, whereas the crowd was so excited to be there and see the players and be there live and in person. And like Tobias and Dwight Howard were basically, like trying to give the love right back. And, Mike, it sounds corny, but that's like the hairs on my arms arose sort of, and just, you can't replicate that feeling, communal spirit of being in a building where you're sharing the same thing. And think about it, at Citizens Bank Park, with the link with the Eagles, and it's certainly true at the center with the 76ers. It's cool. It's what sports is all about, the competition and being there to enjoy it together. It was really neat. And then apparently, like he's looking at the news, like they're going to actually up the percentage in the weeks to come. I believe the state of Pennsylvania has done that. So even more fans will come in. So it's been great, long time coming, and I think the time is right. And certainly at the building, the staff has done an incredible job. As you've heard, the building has a brand new filtration system, and they've taken the safety protocols that one would expect. And you're only allowed to sit with somebody that you live with, or you know what I mean. You're not going there with 6 frat brothers from West Virginia. You know what I mean, Mike? So there's a lot of things in place there, but it's been great, and more to come.
Tom McGinnis tonight. It's Sixers Knicks. You'll hear him on 97.3 ESPN. I want to, we typically, we talk about Ben and Joel, and Tobias is having a great season. We'll get to some of the things that they're doing. But I want to kind of get from you, because you have seen every game start to finish. You call them all. The growth you're watching from Matysse Thybulle right now, because I think he is becoming a very interesting and important part who might, it might get to the point where Doc needs to find a bigger role for him.
Right. And let's go back, Mike. It's me, so I got to go back. But I was just looking at 2019, and Matysse had a really good role going in the first few weeks of his, first NBA season. And then he missed a couple of games, and he kind of lost his mojo offensively. Defensively, with the instincts and the way he plays, the length, and all the things that have made him a great player in that area of the game, those things stayed the same. But when I say he lost his mojo, he wasn't maybe, making threes with consistency. And, it just seemed like he had a little hesitancy there. And now he's getting that back. He's made 5 in a row since the restart. And, you're taught as young players, there's so many elements to his defensive side of the game. You're taught not to reach. And then the other thing is if you're reaching, that means you get beat. These guys are very good and quick, and with the dribble, it's incredible. And yet when he gets beat, he's able to, like, kind of without, like, fouling, poke the ball from behind and lead the steal that way. And you don't get credit for that steal. It's whomever comes up with it, Ben or Tobias or Seth. But again, as I've said for years, going all the way back to when the Sixers drafted Iguodala, you're not going to stop these great perimeter players. They're too good, as I just said, and you can't hand check them and whatnot. But to have a player, a piece where you can put it in front of Kyrie Irving and on and on and on, the great players in our league that play on the perimeter, even some of the wing players, is a tremendous asset, as you say, for a coach where, at a certain point you have to figure out more time. Like, I'll go back, like tonight it's Emmanuel Quickley for the Knicks. And he's teaming with Tyrese, and they were very close. They worked out in Los Angeles. And at the beginning of the year, when Doc Rivers first saw Tyrese Maxey, he's like, I'll tell you what, he's playing. And the assistant coach was like, no, he's taking someone's minutes. And early on, it was a little bit of Matisse's. Well, now the tables have shifted. And as you say, Thybulle's making such an impact that he may begin to garner more time.
That is going to be interesting to see how Doc kind of manages that over the second half of this season. Tom McGinnis, you mentioned the word hesitancy. That's a word that I feel that when I used to watch Tobias Harris, I felt hesitancy. Like, he get the ball and he didn't know what he wanted to do right away. He was a good player. But I feel he is, when the pass comes to him, he knows immediately, I either want to catch and shoot, I want to catch and put the ball on the floor, I want to catch and pull up. I feel like there's a lack of hesitancy from Tobias Harris, and that is translated from a good player turning into a great player.
Right, and that's kind of what Doc Rivers saw when he had him with the Clippers in the beginning of that season, what is now 2+ seasons ago. And, it's amazing. We all listen to these coaches, and I've learned so much from Doc Rivers just listening to him and how he interprets the game. And then when he explains something after the game, like you mentioned Thybulle in Chicago, he's like, we turned Matysse into a screener, and he'd never done that before, and he loved it, and it worked. And it's the same thing. These guys see things, they're basketball gurus. They're, really like geniuses because they've been at it so long. And he played for 13 years. So with Harris, he wanted him to be aggressive and do one of those things. And it's ironic because in years past, the Sixers had that 0.5 rule. You had to do something with it. And, to be honest, like, the strength of Tobias' game is not putting it on the deck. So and you're talking about in years past, that's kind of how he gets in trouble a little bit because it's a little bit more methodical, and here comes somebody else to give help. And now he's so aggressive, and kind of dovetailing into what you're saying, Mike, what I like is he's 6'7", 6'8", and he can just rise up on people, either to shoot a face-up shot from the corner or from the wing, that wing jumper, that dribble pull-ups, how he beat the Lakers, or in the lane where he's bringing it and he's rising above a defender. So he has been, really solid. I mean, 20 points per game, and he brings a lot more with the leadership and the veteran status that he's had in this league. And he's been terrific, and you need more of that every single night because he's a key part for the Sixers.
Yeah, he's been definitely seems like a more confident player for them. I know right now, it's funny when Joel tweeted the other night, all right, let's start building around Tony Bradley. But I'm kind of interested in what you see from this tandem that's going to get about 10 games or more, who knows, with Joel out. Do you like, Tony Bradley was a guy who was a first-round pick. I don't know if too many people remember him at North Carolina, but, what can the Sixers kind of maintain this duo of Bradley and Howard and continue to get this kind of production while Embiid's watching?
Well, they're going to have to, as you say, in the short term. And that was hysterical what Joel did during the Chicago game. He said, I've seen enough. Start building around Tony Bradley. So, I mean, after the game, somebody was talking about, the support. That goes on support. That's really funny. And the other part of that was the reporter posed the question is, how about Joel watching the game? And Doc Rivers interrupted. He said, well, I would think so. That's his job to watch the game. That shouldn't be a stretch that, you're at home with the health and safety protocols and you're watching your ball club. But, no, that was really funny. And Bradley was brilliant in that game, 7 for 7, 4 rebounds, blocks. And so, no, he's from Florida. went to Carolina and played sparingly, and they won the championship while he wasn't, as you say, he wasn't a key cog. And then he plays 3 years. He's a backup to Rudy Gobert. Over those 3 years, he started like 70 games, so that's almost a whole season. And then I was a little shocked to learn that Doc Rivers was just saying he lost 25 pounds up until this point. And so they've seen the work he put in, and that to me begs the question, like, wait, how did you show up 25 pounds overweight when you're joining a new team? But he looks great. I've talked to him. He's a great guy. And so it is going to be kind of center by committee. And like Washington we just played, they're without Thomas Bryant. That can be a dicey. That's hard sometimes to piece that together. But Dwight Howard has been way better. Did you think he was going to be this good?
No,
way better than I would have thought.
I was scratching my head when they made the signing. Like, and to be honest, I'm not watching every game with the Lakers, and it appears that he accepted that role with the Lakers and now has accepted the same role here. So I think that changes your perception, where before he was an all-star. He was a guy that was the man, but he has accepted that he is no longer that, and I think that's what has made him, a key piece to this bench, right?
Right, but mentioning the Lakers, he didn't play that much with them until certain situations and matchups in the playoffs. But obviously with the Sixers, he's had a consistent role, first big off the bench, and his rebounding is terrific. And then his hands clearly aren't the same that they were when in those early years with the Magic. But, on the nights he makes the putbacks and he makes a foul shot here or there, he's getting 9 or 10 points in addition to 7 or 8 rebounds and 2 blocks. And then, he's an agitator. And, you're like, oh, my, here we go again with Howard. But I said that to Doc Rivers, and he said that, name drop. But Red Auerbach used to say that to him all the time. You can't have enough of those instigator type of guys. So coaches actually don't mind that. And certainly, the opposing teams can't stand it. Like for us, see Kyle Lowry, right? You know what I mean? Like with the way he gets under your skin. And I love Kyle, but he's going to have a statue at some point outside the arena now named the Scotia Bank Arena in Toronto, and it's either going to be of him flopping or of him with raised palms and asking for a call from the official.
Tom McGinnis, I have about a minute or so left, so I know it's going to be tough, but you have seen almost every single game that Ben Simmons has played. Have you seen a guy whose game has evolved, a more mature guy? What would be the 1-minute assertion you would give about the Ben Simmons of 2021?
Yeah, I would say both of those things. And, he's so aggressive. He's become a bigger, stronger athlete just by the nature of it's been 2 or 3 years. And he works out like a machine. And, the way he reads the game and the way he attacks. And there's times like that Utah game where he just takes over. And it's incredible, Mike. I mean, you can talk about the jump shot. Again, when he made that 3, you guys called me the next day. So you're going to shoot more threes? I'm like, how do I know? And it turns out the answer, now we know in retrospect, was no. But he makes those hook shots. You look at his field goal percentage, it's well over 50%. He's an incredible, impactful player. And that thing I said about Thybulle in terms of guarding, well, times 2 with Simmons, because he can guard multiple players and is just a complete force at that end of the floor.
They've got the Knicks tonight. The Knicks are improved. We'll have that for you here on 97.3 ESPN, the voice you hear on the phone. Tom McGinnis will have all the action, although a much more excitable Tom McGinnis when you don't have him off the phone or in person. I can promise you. You wouldn't even know you're talking to the same guy. You're very mellow sometimes, but when that game comes in, you get locked in, and it's very entertaining to hear, and we always appreciate you having here on the Sports Bash. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good day.
All right. He, like all guests, Tom McGinnis, Inside the Sixers, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. And Tom's great, man, and an awesome play-by-play guy.